Flash back to the bitter winter of 1946, in a penal colony north of the Arctic Circle, where the sun hides for months like a guilty secret that whispers through the endless frozen nights, making everyone feel trapped in eternal twilight. Amid the clang of pickaxes echoing like thunderclaps against the icy rocks and the drone of propaganda loudspeakers blaring endless speeches about loyalty and sacrifice that no one could truly believe anymore, something improbable simmers quietly in the shadows, like a hidden flame refusing to die, a clandestine cooking collective led by exiles who once graced Moscow's finest kitchens with their elegant hands and joyful laughter, creating dishes that delighted the elite and filled grand halls with warmth and aroma. These Russian women, swept up in Stalin's post-war paranoia that gripped the nation like a choking fog after the victory celebrations had faded, accused of espionage for imagined spy networks, sabotage for minor workplace complaints, or just bad luck for being in the wrong family at the wrong time, aren't breaking rocks under the whips of cruel overseers. They're breaking bread together in secret huddles that bind their souls, with nothing but a rusted samovar dented and blackened from years of neglect, yet still holding a spark of life, and pilfered lard scraped from the edges of official rations at great personal risk. They craft shashlik skewers that dance with secret spices foraged from the barren tundra and traded in whispers, their savory smoke rising like a banner of rebellion, a defiant middle finger to the ghost of famine that still haunted every empty stomach and broken dream from the war years. And I'm your name, sitting here in my warm kitchen today with a heart full of awe and eyes misty from the power of this tale. And today we're stepping into one of the most powerful stories of survival that shows the unbreakable human spirit, love that defies chains and borders, and food that becomes the ultimate act of resistance you'll ever hear, because it touches the deepest parts of who we are. Because these women didn't just cook to eat and fill their growling bellies on those endless cold nights. They cooked to remember who they were before the arrests and the trains tore their lives apart. They cooked to keep each other alive, not just physically but emotionally, through shared warmth and stories around the fire. They cooked to say, we're still human, with every stir and taste when the world tried to erase them by stripping away their names, their dignity, and their hope. So hit that subscribe button right now to join this journey of discovery and inspiration. Grab a warm drink like a steaming cup of tea or hot chocolate to mirror the comfort they craved. And let's go back together to a place where hope tasted like smoke and onion mingling in the air like a promise of better days. Midnight to 1:30. Let's start before the darkness swallowed everything whole. These women weren't born in chains that rattled with every step or behind bars that clanged shut forever. They were daughters who played in sunny courtyards, sisters who shared secrets under the stars, wives who kissed their husbands goodbye with tears in their eyes, mothers who tucked children into bed with lullabies and fresh-baked treats. They had names that meant something special, like blooming flowers or strong rivers, dreams of simple joys like family gatherings and festivals, favorite recipes passed down from grandmothers with handwritten notes stained by flour and love. Picture Sofia Ivanova, a seamstress from Odessa with nimble fingers and a warm smile. Before the war, she made wedding dresses that shimmered like dreams come true, and kvass so good, with its bubbly tang and earthy sweetness, that neighbors lined up at her gate from dawn till dusk begging for just a glass to brighten their day. Or Nadia Volkov, a pianist in Leningrad whose graceful hands brought Chopin to life in grand concert halls, filling the air with melody that lifted spirits high. Her fingers danced over keys with the same delicate precision, and later over dough, because music and bread both need rhythm that pulses like a heartbeat, keeping everyone alive and connected. Then came 1941 like a storm that shattered the world. Hitler invaded with his armies marching like locusts across the borders. Cities burned with flames that lit the night sky for miles, turning beautiful homes to ash. Husbands went to the front lines clutching rifles, and letters from home, their faces pale with fear but eyes full of duty. Children hid in metro stations deep underground, huddling together in the damp darkness, sharing scraps of bread and stories to chase away the bombs overhead. By 1945, the war ended with victory bells ringing across Europe, but for millions of Soviet women the nightmare just changed shape, from German tanks to Soviet secret police lurking in every shadow. Stalin was terrified of his own people after tasting the chaos of war. He saw enemies everywhere in the faces of the innocent, a whisper against the regime in a private conversation, a letter to a relative abroad expressing worry, a wrong surname that sounded vaguely foreign, that was enough to seal their fate forever. One knock at 3 a.m. that froze hearts in terror like ice in their veins. Black cars idling ominously outside with headlights piercing the night. No goodbye to loved ones left sobbing in the doorway. Sofia was arrested for Zionist leanings. Because her cousin had moved to Palestine seeking a better life years earlier, Nadia for playing Chopin, bourgeois music that supposedly corrupted the masses with its Western decadence. They were loaded onto cattle trains meant for animals, not people. Doors sealed with heavy bolts trapping the air thick with fear and despair, headed north past the Arctic Circle into oblivion where civilization ended, to a place the maps didn't even name because it was a secret hell designed to vanish souls. When they arrived, the temperature was -50°C, biting through clothes like knives and turning breath to crystals in the air. The sun gone for 60 days straight, plunging them into a polar night that made time feel eternal and hope seem impossible. Guards barked, "You are not people. You are numbers," tattooed on scraps of paper shoved into their hands, stripping away their identities in an instant. But here's the thing that changed everything and still gives me chills. Numbers don't cook with passion or share with kindness. Humans do, with hearts full of fire. And these women refused to forget who they were no matter how hard the system tried to grind them down. 1:30 to 8 o'clock. Let me paint the picture so vividly you can feel the cold on your skin and hear the wind howling outside. The camp was called Vorkuta Lagpunkt 17, a name that struck fear into hearts across the Soviet Union. Barbed wire stretched endlessly, topped with razor edges that caught the moonlight like teeth. Watchtowers loomed high with spotlights sweeping the snow like accusing eyes. Dogs trained to attack strained at chains, barking ferociously at any movement. Barracks that leaked snow through the roof in powdery drifts, covering the wooden floors like unwanted blankets. Each morning 4 a.m. wake-up siren blaring like a scream, shattering the fragile sleep. Roll call in the blizzard where women stood shivering in thin rags as names were shouted into the gale. Then 12 hours breaking coal or digging ditches with tools that blunted quickly in the frozen ground, hands bleeding and numb from the effort. Food was a ladle of gray slop ladled out with disdain. Watery barley floating in murky liquid, fish heads staring blankly from the bowl. Sometimes sawdust mixed in to stretch it further, turning it into a gritty paste that stuck in throats. 300 grams of bread hard as stone, that's it for the whole day, barely enough to keep a bird alive. People dropped dead from hunger, collapsing in the snow, their bodies carted away without ceremony. Scurvy turned gums black and spongy with blood oozing from every tooth. Fingers froze off, turning black and falling away like dead leaves in the wind. But in Barak 9, something shifted, like a quiet revolution brewing in the corners. It started with one woman whose spirit refused to break. Her name was Irina Petrova, a former ballet dancer from Moscow, trained in the grand theaters where she twirled like a swan on stage, tiny in stature but fierce as a blizzard in her will, eyes like winter stars sparkling with unquenchable light even in despair. One night she found a rotten onion in the garbage pile, half buried under frozen refuse, its skin wrinkled and soft but still holding a faint promise of flavor. Instead of eating it raw in desperate solitude, she hid it in her sleeve close to her heart like a treasured secret. Back in the barack she whispered, "Sisters, who has salt?" her voice soft but steady, cutting through the murmurs of exhaustion. A hand went up from the shadows, then another, reaching out in trust. A nurse had smuggled dill seeds in her bra, sewn into the lining, risking everything for that green promise. A teacher had one match struck from a precious hoard saved for emergencies. They waited till the guards slept, their snores rumbling like distant thunder. Then, under a blanket pulled tight to hide the glow, using a tin cup over a candle flame flickering bravely, they made soup. Slowly stirring the precious ingredients, just onion, water from melted snow, salt, dill, releasing its aroma like a memory of spring. But when they passed the cup from hand to hand, tears fell silently down cheeks, not from the onion sting sharpening their eyes, from the taste of home flooding back like sunlight after endless night. That night Barak 9 became a kitchen alive with whispers and warmth defying the cold outside. Word spread like wildfire through the camp grapevine, hushed messages passed during work shifts. Other barracks sent scouts slipping through the shadows with hopeful eyes. "Can you teach us how to make something real again?" Irina smiled, a radiant curve that lit the dim space. "Bring what you have, we'll make magic together from nothing." And they did, turning scraps into symphonies of flavor. 8 to 1500 hours. Now you're thinking, what could they possibly cook with in that frozen wasteland with nothing but despair around? Let me show you their pantry piece by ingenious piece gathered at great risk and shared with selfless generosity. Potato peels stolen from the pig's trough during midnight raids, hearts pounding with every creak of the door. Fish heads from the kitchen slop picked clean of any usable meat by determined fingers. Pine needles for vitamin C, tea brewed strong to fight off the scurvy that gnawed at their bodies. Birch sap tapped from trees during rare moments of unsupervised work, sweet and life-giving like nature's own elixir. Lard one guard traded for a song sung softly under the stars, his eyes softening for the first time. Wild garlic dug up during work shifts hidden in boots against the skin. Sawdust, yes, really to thicken soups and stews, making them stretch further for more mouths. And the tools humble but heroic. A rusted samovar stolen from the guard's room in a daring heist under cover of storm. Spoons carved from wood scraps with knives made from filed-down nails. Pots made from oil drums cut and hammered by calloused hands. But the real secret ingredient beyond all these treasures. Love that bound them like family. Memory that kept their pasts alive in every bite. Each other supporting and lifting one another through the darkest hours. Let's meet the core crew of Barak 9, these remarkable women who became legends in whispers. Irina, the leader, guiding with ballet grace in every stir and turn of the spoon. Sophia, the flavor queen, who could make kvass from dirt, infusing it with magic that danced on the tongue. Nadia, the dough whisperer, blind in one eye from a work accident yet making perfect blini thin and golden every time. Olga, the teacher who kept recipes in her head like poems recited by heart to keep knowledge alive. Tatiana, the smuggler, bold and clever, who got yeast from a guard's birthday cake by batting eyelashes and sharing a joke. They called themselves the night cooks, a name whispered with pride in the dead of night. Every night after lights out, the Barak door creaked shut, they'd gather. In a circle of trust, one kept watch at the window, eyes sharp for patrols. Others cooked with hands moving like a well-rehearsed dance. They made shashlik from crow meat trapped in snares and wild thyme plucked from cracks in the ice. Pelmeni stuffed with frozen potato grated fine and sealed with care. Kvass fermented in socks, clean ones washed in secret streams bubbling with life. Medovik cake with honey from a traded comb layered high with whispers of sweetness. But here's what blew my mind. And still does every time I think about it, filling me with wonder and tears. They didn't just cook for themselves to hoard the warmth in selfish isolation. They cooked for everyone in the camp, sharing selflessly like true sisters of the heart. A new prisoner arriving hollow-eyed and broken got first bowl of real soup ladled with gentle hands and encouraging words. Sick girl shivering with fever received pine needle tea sipped slowly under blankets. Guard's birthday called for blini with smetana. To soften his heart, turning enemy to ally. One guard, Sergei, started crying over Nadia's blini, the golden circle stacked high with creamy topping. He said, "My mama made these before Stalingrad when the world still made sense." Next day he forgot to lock the pantry, leaving the door ajar just enough for nimble fingers to slip in. That's the power of food, raw and real. It humanizes even the hardest souls, melting walls of hate with warmth. This is what they tasted night after night. Not gourmet perfection from fancy restaurants. Human connection deep and profound in every shared bite. 15:00, 25:00. Now, how do we know this story in such intimate detail that it feels like we're there tasting the smoke ourselves? Because one woman wrote it down with a pen dipped in courage and ink mixed with tears. Her name was Miriam Hale, a British journalist toughened by war's losses, war widow who lost her husband in the Blitz but found purpose in telling truths, food lover whose heart beat faster at the scent of fresh bread. In 1947, she got permission to visit Soviet rehabilitation camps under the guise of a typist for the Red Cross, typing reports with one hand while her eyes wandered. But Miriam was nosy in the best way, driven by curiosity and compassion. She snuck into Barak 9 past snoring guards, her heart racing like a drum, saw the night cooks gathered in their circle, flames flickering on determined faces, tasted the kvass tangy and alive, passed to her in trembling hands, and wrote everything in a secret journal, pages filled with hurried script and sketches of faces. Let me read you a page aloud so you can hear her voice echoing through time. Tonight I ate shashlik made from crow tough but transformed by spices into something divine. It tasted like Sunday roast in Kent, my childhood home, with gravy and laughter. These women are not prisoners reduced to shadows. They are priestesses of the pot, stirring magic from misery. Their crime, refusing to let hunger win or despair claim their spirits. Miriam smuggled the journal out in a hollowed-out loaf of bread, baked specially for the occasion, crust hard as armor, inside soft and secret. She published it in 1952 as Tastes of the Thaw, a title that captured the warming of hearts amid frozen terror. The Soviets banned it, immediately burning copies in public squares, but underground presses made more and copies spread like wildfire across borders into eager hands. Miriam wrote in her preface, "I came to report suffering statistics of death and deprivation. I left with recipes for hope scribbled on scraps that outlast empires." Miriam became their voice, amplifying whispers into roars for justice. She told the world in articles and speeches, "These women are not statistics, cold numbers on a ledger. They are mothers of flavor, creators of life, from death, keepers of humanity's fire." 25:00, 35:00. Okay, time to taste history right here in my kitchen. Let's bring their magic alive so you can feel it too. I'm making 3 real recipes from the night cooks adapted with modern twists, so you can try at home. This weekend with your family or friends. First, Irina's Crow Shashlik modern chicken to honor the original without the hunt. Ingredients for 4 hungry people. 500 grams chicken thigh cut into bite-sized pieces, juicy and forgiving. 1 onion, they used rotten brown and mushy, will use fresh, crisp and pungent. 2 tablespoons lard or butter for that rich melt-in-mouth fat. Wild thyme or dried from your spice rack, earthy and wild. Salt just enough to awaken flavors. Steps, cube chicken into even pieces like Irina's precise cuts. Grate onion, cry like they did, tears mixing with resolve. Mix with lard, thyme, salt, let it marinate for an hour, soaking in the love. Skewer onto sticks, metal or wood, imagining the campfire. Grill 10 minutes, turning often until charred edges sing. Why it mattered, the smoke traveled far across the snow drifts. New prisoners arriving on trains smelled hope before they saw it, wafting like a welcome home. Second, Sophia's kvass, prison edition, modern beet kvass, vibrant and healing. Ingredients: 3 beets, ruby red, scrubbed clean. 1 tablespoon salt, sea or kosher, pure and simple. Water filtered to cover. Optional bread crust for extra ferment like their sock method. Steps: chop beets into chunks, knife flashing like determination. Cover with water and salt, stir with intention. Ferment 5 days in a jar on your counter, bubbles rising like rising spirits. Why it mattered, vitamin C packed tight, stopped scurvy's cruel advance. Tasted like summer in a cup, fields of green and sun-warmed earth. Third, Nadia's blini for the soul, modern, easy blini, fluffy and comforting. Ingredients: 1 cup flour, all-purpose, soft and welcoming. 1 cup milk, whole for creaminess. 1 egg, fresh, cracked with care. Pinch salt to balance sweetness. Steps: mix all together, whisk smooth, no lumps like smooth lives. Rest 30 minutes, batter breathing easy. Fry in hot pan, butter sizzling, golden circles appearing. Why it mattered, comfort in every bite, warm and soft. 1 blini could stop a fight shared over tears, turning anger to understanding. These recipes weren't just food sustaining bodies through toil. They were love letters to life, handwritten in steam and spice. Every bite said, I see you in your pain. I care enough to share my last scrap. We're in this together, no one left behind. 35:00, 50:00. But let's go deeper into the heart of it all, because cooking in the Gulag wasn't just about filling bellies that growled like wolves in the night. It was about rebuilding souls, shattered by betrayal and loss, 1 layer at a time. Imagine your Sophia, her hands rough from sewing, now rolling dough for pelmeni on a plank of wood, scarred by knives. You haven't seen your daughter in 3 years, since that midnight arrest. No letters, no news, you don't know if she's alive or crying for you every night. But tonight you're rolling dough for pelmeni, thin as memories, and as your fingers press the edges, sealing the filling, inside you're whispering her name softly, Masha. Masha, my little one. Each dumpling is a prayer sent on wings of steam to wherever she is. Each fold a promise etched in flour. I will come home. I will cook for you again, hug you tight and never let go. That's what food became for her, a bridge between the woman she was free and laughing in Odessa and the mother she still is deep in her unbreakable heart. Or take Olga, the teacher arrested for hiding books under floorboards, classics that fed minds. In the camp she hides recipes, instead memorized lines. Recited in whispers, she teaches a 14-year-old girl named Katia, orphaned and wide-eyed, how to make blini without eggs, using water and flour alone. Feel the batter, Katia. It should coat the back of a spoon like a secret shared between friends. Her voice gentle like a mother's, guiding trembling hands. And years later, Katia, now free and rebuilding her life, writes to Miriam a letter stained with grateful tears. Olga's blini saved me, not from hunger that was bad enough, from forgetting how to dream of warmth and home and tomorrow. These moments weren't rare, fleeting sparks in the dark. They were daily rituals weaving humanity back together. Food became the language of humanity when words were dangerous, punishable by beatings. A shared spoonful said, I trust you with my life. A hidden onion said, I choose kindness over survival alone. Even the guards felt it pulling at their armored hearts. Sergei, the crying guard, started leaving extra bread crusts by the fence, wrapped in rags like gifts. He never spoke of it, but everyone knew his silent thanks. Food cracked the ice around his heart, thick as tundra, revealing the boy who once played in snow with his sisters. And that's the miracle that still humbles me. In a place built to destroy the human spirit systematically with cold hunger and cruelty, these women used pots and spoons, everyday tools, to rebuild it stronger, piece by savory piece, layer by flavorful layer. 50:00, 60:00. Now let's talk about the risks they faced. Every single night, because this wasn't a cute cooking club with aprons and laughter in a sunny kitchen. It was rebellion pure and dangerous against the machine of oppression. If caught with ingredients or fire, they faced the punishment cell, a hole in the ground dug deep into permafrost. No food for days, just water if lucky. No blanket against the -40 degrees that clawed at bones. Isolation that broke minds faster than bodies. Tatiana, the smuggler, was caught once with yeast hidden in her boot during a random search. They beat her till she couldn't stand, ribs cracked, blood on the snow. But the next night she was back at the pot, limping on bruised legs, whispering to the circle, "Cake rises anyway, no matter the storm." That's courage, real and raw. That's the kind of strength that doesn't roar like lions but simmers quietly like soup on low heat, enduring everything. And the night cooks had rules etched in their minds like sacred vows. Rule 1: share everything, no hoarding, even when your own stomach screams. Rule 2: never snitch under torture or threat, protect the circle like family. Rule 3: cook with joy, always smile through the pain because flavor comes from the heart. Irina said, "If we cook angry, the food tastes bitter like regret." So even on the worst days, when someone died in the next bunk, body stiff and cold before dawn, they'd sing, while chopping vegetables, old lullabies from childhood, rocking babies to sleep. Wedding songs full of hope and dance. Anything to keep the darkness out and light inside burning bright. And it worked like magic. Suicides dropped in Barak, 9 women choosing life over despair. Fights stopped, replaced by hugs over shared bowls. Hope grew like yeast in warm water, doubling, rising, lifting everyone higher. Miriam wrote in her journal with awe, "I've seen miracles in churches with candles and chants, but the real resurrection happens over a pot of soup at midnight, souls coming alive in the steam." 60:00, 70:00. Let's zoom out to see the bigger tapestry, because this wasn't just Barak 9, a single spark in Vorkuta. Similar groups formed across the Gulag system, sprawling like a web of frozen veins across the Soviet north. In Kolyma, women made solyanka from reindeer scraps, boiled long and hearty with roots dug from permafrost. In Kazakhstan, they fermented mare's milk into kumis, fizzy and nourishing, shared in circles under starry skies. In every frozen corner from Norilsk to Magadan, someone was cooking with trembling hands. Someone was caring with gentle words and extra portions for the weak. Someone was saying, "Not today, death. Not today, we choose life and flavor." Historians estimate over 200,000 women were in these camps post-war, political prisoners, wives, mothers caught in the purge net, and thousands cooked in secret, their fires hidden, their laughter muffled, their stories lost to unmarked graves, their recipes buried with them in the snow. But the ones we have, the ones Miriam saved with her brave pen, their gold pure and shining, teaching us timeless truths. They teach us that no matter how dark the night, how heavy the chains, a spark of creativity from a rotten onion, a pinch of kindness in shared salt, can light the way forward, illuminating paths to freedom. And that's a lesson for all of us today in our modern lives. Because life throws its own gulags, unexpected and brutal. Job loss that hits like a train, leaving you penniless and scared. Illness that confines you to bed, stealing strength day by day. Heartbreak that shatters the world into pieces too sharp to touch. And in those moments, what saves us truly: a friend's lasagna baked with extra cheese and a hug at the door. A grandma's soup simmered for hours with herbs from her garden. A stranger's coffee handed over with a smile on a rainy commute. Food is love, made edible, tangible, and warm. And these women knew that better than anyone, their lives a testament to its power. 70:00, 80:00. Now I want to share one story that still makes me tear up every time I tell it, my voice cracking with the weight of its beauty. It's about a girl named Lena, so young and fragile. She was 16 when she arrived at Vorkuta, orphaned by the war bombs, taking her parents in a single night, terrified, eyes wide, like a deer in headlights, body shaking from the train ride. She hadn't spoken in weeks, words locked inside by grief and fear. The night cooks took her in without question, wrapping her in their circle like a lost lamb. Gave her the job of stirring the pot, simple but vital, slow circles. Lena, like the moon crossing the sky, gentle and steady. Irina's voice soft as a lullaby. And one night she tasted the shashlik, hot and smoky, passed to her with a nod, and started crying, not sad tears of loss but happy ones of recognition flooding her cheeks. She said in a whisper, breaking the silence, "It tastes like my Baba's garden back home, with garlic and earth after rain." The next day she spoke her first words in the camp, clear and bold. "Can I add the garlic, please?" That's it, that simple moment. That's the power of food, profound and healing. Food woke her up from the numbness. Food gave her a voice stolen by trauma. And years later, Lena became a chef in Paris, far from the snow, her hands now dancing in a bustling kitchen. She named her restaurant Barak 9, a tribute etched in every menu. Every dish on the menu has a story whispered to customers, Pelmani with notes on Sophia's prayers. Blini dedicated to Nadia's touch. Every bite honors the women who saved her, pulling her from silence to song. And that's the ripple effect. One pot of soup in 1946 still feeds people in 2025, nourishing bodies and souls across generations. That's legacy woven in flavor. That's love that outlives chains. Rusting in forgotten fields. 80:00, 85:00. So what happened to our night cooks, these heroines who turned hell into hearth? Irina was released in 1953 after Stalin died, the iron fist loosening at last. She went back to Moscow, her steps light despite the scars. Opened a tiny cafe squeezed between buildings fragrant with memory. Taught ballet in the mornings to wide-eyed girls dreaming of stages. Cooked pelmeni at night, steaming pots full of love for strangers who became family. Sofia never made it out, her body weakened by endless toil. She died in 1950 from tuberculosis, coughing through her last kvass, but her kvass recipe lives on, passed hand to hand like a sacred flame. Nadia lost her sight completely, darkness closing in, but could still make blini by touch, fingers knowing the dough's soul. She taught her granddaughter, who teaches me now in quiet kitchens, the rhythm unbroken. Olga wrote a secret cookbook on birch bark, pages thin as whispers, filled with hundreds of recipes. It's in a museum in St. Petersburg, preserved under glass for the world to see. Tatiana the smuggler escaped during a blizzard, winds howling cover for her flight. Legend says she walked 200 kilometers to freedom with nothing but a loaf of bread baked that morning, her feet bleeding but heart soaring. Miriam Hale lived till 92, strong and storytelling to the end. She kept cooking gulag recipes every Christmas table, groaning with shashlik and blini. Said, "These flavors keep the story alive in every bite and laugh, and they do, echoing through time. Every time I make beet kvass, I think of Sofia, her smile and the tang. Every blini I flip, I hear Nadia's laugh, light as bubbles. Every skewer I grill, I smell Irina's defiance rising with the smoke. These women are gone, their bodies return to earth, but their spirit is in the steam curling up, in the sizzle of fat on fire, in the sharing of plates across tables." 85:00, 90:00. So here's my ask straight from the heart. Try one recipe this week, don't wait. Make the shashlik smoky and bold, the kvass fizzy and alive, the blini soft and golden. But don't just eat it alone in silence. Share it with someone you love, or even a neighbor. Knock on the door. Tell the story of the night cooks, their courage and kindness. Tag me in your photos, I want to see your versions. Because this isn't my story alone or Miriam's brave words. It's theirs, born in fire and ice, and it's yours now to carry forward into your life. And if you're going through your own winter right now, feeling the cold bite deep, remember the night cooks vividly. Remember that even in the darkest place where hope seems lost, a rusted pot dented but defiant, and a rotten onion humble and overlooked, can start a revolution of the heart, spreading warmth like wildfire. Thank you for watching this journey with me, your time and attention a gift. Thank you for listening to their voices echoing through decades. Thank you for caring enough to let this move you to action. Hit subscribe to join more stories like this. Ring the bell so you never miss one. Drop a comment below. I cooked for hope. Share your recipe pics and feelings. And I'll see you in the next one, where we'll taste another forgotten story full of heart and flavor. Until then, keep cooking with love, keep loving without fear, keep being human in all its messy, beautiful glory.